Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Michael Shangkuan. Michael Shangkuan is the CEO of edtech startup Lingoda, an online language school which offers English, German, French, and Spanish lessons with live teachers. Prior to Lingoda, he was the CEO at Terra Education, a B Corp offering life-changing service learning summer programs to teens in Africa, South America, and Asia. Michael has lived in 6 countries across 4 continents, speaks 6 languages, English, German, Spanish, French, Chinese, and Japanese, and is a former natural bodybuilder, having competed at several international competitions. Well, good afternoon, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Brian.
You bet. This is exciting. And, not only do I get to meet another person virtually, right, but live, we get to share some time behind the microphone today. But it's great talking to somebody that is a few thousand miles away, right? And you're currently based out of Germany, if I'm correct. What I'd like to do, Michael, is jump into the questions to get your story out there to our audience. So jumping right in, let's talk about your career. You've got quite the career in investment banking, brand marketing, you're a senior executive, and now the CEO for Lingoda. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Sure. I think there's a lot of different things to think about when it comes to career growth and what inspires me. And one thing that comes into mind in particular is to hire the right coach, as I call it. And I'll provide 3 examples as to what specifically I mean, Brian, both in personal and professional life. I think one example in my professional is I started my marketing career at Procter & Gamble. And I figured that if you could pay $10, get people to pay $10 for soap, that I could basically sell anything to people, which actually is true to a certain degree. And there I learned the principles of marketing. The people managers were top flight. And I think in some ways I learned more in my first 2 years after business school than almost any other time. So picking the right place to start was extremely important. The second thing I'll use is more personal. I don't know if you know or not, but I actually used to compete in bodybuilding. And if you look at me, I'm a small 140 pounds. And you ask, well, how did that actually happen? And it's not because I'm a fitness fanatic or athletic by any means, but I hired the right coach, the right professional bodybuilder who's done it over and over again for average Joes like me. And that's how I actually got to where I got to in bodybuilding. Then the last one is, of course, the biggest passion of mine of all, which combines the personal and the professional, Brian. And that is language, is that I speak 6 languages. And over that time, I've succeeded and I've failed. I've discovered what the best formula to learn a language is. And that's why I'm at Lingoda today. Which is exactly what we do. We have one of the best ways in the world to learn a language, to get better at it for real, and even to become fluent.
That is an amazing story. And it's something that you were really excited and passionate about. I can hear it in your voice and how you went after it in everything you've did, from your learning a language to, that being that natural bodybuilder. Thank you again for sharing that, Michael. That's so inspiring. So we're going to switch questions, talk about the pandemic a little bit. It has started to lift. We don't know where this pandemic will end up, but let's hope it goes away soon. But what are your plans for business growth going forward? And will it be any different than during the lockdown?
That's a great question, Brian. And I think everybody has a different answer to that question. I think for us, the summary is nothing has changed. It's only accelerated to a certain degree. As I was telling you earlier, our mission is to build the very best platform to deliver. In education tech, we really care about delivering on the student learning outcome, which is to speak a foreign language significantly better. And at Lingoda, before the pandemic and after, or during and after the pandemic, human connection will always be at the center of language learning. We see technology as an enabler that complements the human connection online. And, when you learn a language, if you think about it, the best way actually to learn a language, as kids do, is to be practice speaking all the time. right? With natives or with native teachers. The more you do that, the more you do it with different people, the better actually it is. And that's what Lingoda is based on. And it's the same before and during. I'll give you a little bit of an example because people love to ask me, well, tell me more about your language learning experiences and how it's influenced the product development. I actually started learning German a few years ago, of course, before I came to Germany to run Lingoda. And I was living in California and I started with apps. You can guess sort of some of those apps. I actually used 2 of them. I finished the entire program of both of them. And I got to Germany and they placed me, when I went to go to a class with a live teacher, they placed me in absolute beginner level. Because at the end of the day, I couldn't speak, I couldn't communicate, and I didn't know the grammar. So it wasn't until that I actually in Germany took live classes with live teachers that I got any better. And now, of course, having done that, I have the confidence to use it every single day. And so this has been, our vision at Lingoda, and it will continue to be thereafter the pandemic.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that we're in such an age of disruption here and that we're actually making some huge strides and improvements for humankind because people are saying, we're done doing the way we used to do things traditionally. And now we're coming up with creative ways to actually make things better, more efficient, and easier to learn. So thank you. So Michael, let's talk a little bit about tech, right? I'm a technologist and this is a technology platform. You're obviously leveraging some new and emerging technologies within your tech stack. Is there anything you might be able to share with us today?
Yeah, what I can share with you is less the specifics, but more the vision in terms of where we're taking things. So as we were talking earlier, Lingoda, because it's about the live classroom, we build human connections online thousands of times a day. And that's pretty phenomenal if you think about it. You might have a teacher based in Latin America and the students are from 3 other continents and they come together for 1 hour. We believe that with the things that we're doing, the vision is that the interactions online can actually be superior to offline because there are things that you can do online with technology that you fundamentally cannot do offline. So to give you an example, my favorite class of all time, I hated math, by the way, but my favorite class of all time when I go back was my 6th grade math teacher with Mrs. Boardman. And she made it so exciting, not just because of her, but with the tools that she used to make it fun and exciting. Back then, there wasn't the technology that we have now available, and that's emerging. So each of us, and I'm sure, Brian, you too, have what you would consider to be your favorite class. It could be professor class taught in university with a professor. It could be much younger. And our vision is to say, in looking at our technology and our tech stack is, how can we make every classroom experience like the one I had with Mrs. Boardman? Because fundamentally, technology and good product development can turn our teachers into super teachers, give them superpowers, as I would call them. And that is where we're actually focusing a lot of our technology development today. So although I am not prepared to tell you specifically, you can imagine the in-class experience and the different vehicles that are now used in the classroom to make that a reality.
That's awesome. And I love that you explained the vision. And again, we just talked about how we're taking things in every aspect of our lives and making them better. So thank you for sharing that. And Michael, last question here. Can you share something from your career experience that would be helpful for those looking to grow their career in leadership or learning?
Sure, absolutely. There's many things that I could talk about. One in particular I have a very big passion for, and why I'm in language learning today is what I call the cultural quotient, is to grow your CQ, your cultural quotient. What do I mean by that? So Brian, when I was young, at least, I'm not sure if you were young when you were young, but we talked about IQ, right? Intelligence, and that shift to EQ, emotional quotient, right? That was very big, particularly when I was in schools, like, how to develop your EQ beyond IQ. I would say the next evolution, as we look at the 21st century and where an organization can be borderless to a certain degree with people from lots of different cultures and backgrounds, that the cultural quotient of a leader in an organization is critical. Think about where things are going, the workforce. in terms of where in an organization people will recruit from. They can recruit from Europe just as easily as China, just as easily as America. And just like on the phone or on the podcast right now, we would have people from all over the world. Now, here's the key, though. Although people might appear alike, and a lot of them nowadays may speak a common language, they're very, very different. So I have been lucky. I've actually lived in many different countries, in 8 different countries, in 4 continents. And I'll give you an example of Argentina versus Japan. So in Argentina, men kiss on the cheek when they greet each other and when they leave each other every day. In Japan, by contrast, you actually don't even touch when you greet. You bow. And actually, if you extend your hand, it'll be considered awkward, unless you're in a very, very Western setting. Now that you can imagine has huge implications on how Argentines and the Japanese would work together, and how you or I as Americans would work with an Argentine or a Japanese, or if the 3 of us were together on the phone, right, or live. So that is really where we are taking this with Lingoda, is that actually culture is core to our success here. And as I said earlier, we're building the 21st century United Nations, and we'd like to inspire others to do that as well. To answer your question in summary is, in growing your career in leadership or learning, becoming aware of other cultures and what drives them, and being aware of your own culture and what drives your culture is critically important for success in the coming century.
I love that. I think you're absolutely right about the culture. I think that is so intertwined with everything we do today in business. And I think sharing that example is very helpful for our audience to understand the way you're approaching this. So thanks again, Michael. I do appreciate that. And Michael, absolutely. You bet. It was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Yes, Brian, thanks so much. It was great to get to know you today.
Bye for now.